Hello everybody, I'm Anna from Shiny Happy Art. If this is your first time with me, welcome. It is the first time we've done this, which is celebrating a Shiny Happy Art Club week. And that is because obviously this event, every day this week we're going to go live, and these events are sponsored by my Shiny Happy Art Club because it's a wonderful thing to do and a wonderful thing to be a part of, but there's still so many people who don't know what we do, so it's a bit of a peek in the door of what we do inside the club, and I'm really happy to share it with you. Now just let me get this going on my screen here so that I can see your comments and hellos. Do let us know that you're here. Because there might just be a friend here and you can chat amongst yourselves. I love it when that happens. Let's just get this going on my screen. And I really appreciate you saying hi. Kayleen's here from Wandoan. Kathy, good afternoon down here. Yes, New South Wales. Well, you all know, most of you know, I'm not a morning person. So 11 o'clock was pretty much the best I could do. If you need me at midnight, I'm usually up, but it's mornings are a whole different ball game. I'm trying my best, but I thought 11 o'clock I can do that. And it has been a while since I've showed up at the same time regularly. It doesn't seem to be in my DNA, but we're going to give it a red hot go this week. 11 o'clock, I'm impressing myself already. Hi Marilyn, hi Becky from Louisiana, USA. Thank you for coming, because it is lovely that it's 11 o'clock our morning, but it is evening the night before in America. So yes, welcome to the future if you're watching us from America. And Terry in Minnesota. Oh, how great to catch you as well, Terry. Terry is one of our mad keen painters in the Shiny Happy Art Club, and she shares so much of what she does, which keeps the enthusiasm going so beautifully. Jody as well, fabulous from Toowoomba, where I am. We are actually having a beautiful sunshiny day. It's been a weird couple of weeks. New Jersey, wow, we really have picked up the Americans today. That's wonderful. Leanne, great to see you again. Leanne was one of my original paint-alongers when I did a lot of live classes, and Julie from America as well, friend from the future. Julie, I am your friend from the future. It's lovely to have you here. Julie, of course, I interviewed. If you look on my YouTube channel, Julie is from Soul Sparklets and runs a fabulous business over in America, running with art classes for kids. So if you are a teacher in any way with kids art, do look up Julie from Soul Sparklets Art and check her out on my YouTube channel. I'll be doing some work with her people very, very soon. Can't wait. All right. Jody's got her mum here too. Fantastic. All right. Look, let's get stuck into it, shall we? What I have got in front of me here is a sunflower and some of our sunflower paintings from the club. So yes, this is a peek into what we do in the club. If you're already in the club, please let us know that you are. And hi, Bron. Oh, it's so exciting to see you all. Yeah, it's just to give you an idea of how I teach and what we do. So look, I've got a couple of paint-alongs here. This is Loose Sunflowers, this one's called. I'm wondering if Linda's here, she can find the numbers for me. I did look before I started, but I've forgotten to print them out. And look, this one is another sunflower painting we've done as part of the club. And this is from the Experience Van Gogh class. So this actually has 3 Van Gogh inspired paintings in it. And this one is very interesting because it's actually not only inspired by Van Gogh, it's inspired, like Van Gogh inspired Brett Whiteley, and then we've been into a drawing, and then we've been inspired by Brett Whiteley's drawing. So there's sort of layers of learning in that one. So, but of course, with the war in Ukraine, how could we not start with sunflowers this morning? So what I'm going to do is do an acrylic painting in a sketchbook. So this one I'm halfway through. I started on a cover. This is an Etcher sketchbook, but look, it's It is a little unusual to use acrylics in sketchbooks, but part of the reason I'm doing it is so that I am a little restricted, so that I don't spend too much time. And this is one of the things we really try to do in the club. We try and fit the art making into the time that you have available. And look, some people have heaps of time, which is wonderful. And I've got some wonderful members who paint multiple versions of their favourite paintings. Mette from Denmark is so fabulous at taking the idea and doing 3 or 5 or 6 of them all in one go. She absolutely delights me, and she has the time to do that and really enjoy it. Other people have a lot less time. So Jane from Toowoomba here does it on her holidays, and she works at a school, and so on the holidays she'll catch up and do 3 or 4 paintings in one session. So the other way to do it is to just say, I've only got half an hour, I need to do it smaller. So this is forcing me to do it smaller. Linda's there, fantastic. Sunflower is number 9, Van Gogh is number 16. And of course we've just done number 38. So we've been around, this is our 4th year now. And yes, we've got lovely things planned as well. But when you join, you don't get all 39 because it just proved a bit overwhelming, but we do give you the last 24. It's like a rolling catalogue of paint-alongs, and you have 24 there, and I say look for your favourites and start with them. This is what we painted or we sketched together last Friday night in a live that I ran with the drink and draw. So it is the same book that I used for that is what I'm going to use today. It is beautiful paper. You don't need to use fancy paper to learn on. But look, when you are using paper, it is a bit more absorbent than a painted canvas surface. So we'll see what happens to the paint as we apply it. All right, so we've got lots of people here this morning. How great is it? I'm going to put this down on the early ones we can still purchase. Leanne's asking, yes, you certainly can. They are all there individually, and if you're a member of the club, you get a discount coupon through Linda, lovely Linda, who is there in the comments as well. She organises discount vouchers or coupons for club members to go back and purchase the old ones. So look, it's my way of making it as economical as possible, but of course it is a really good quality product. And in terms of my teaching, if you like what I do put my heart and soul into it. And of course it's the way I support my family, so we need to have a little bit of give and take, but I do give a lot, and this club membership is my most economical way of sharing that with you. It's only $25 a month, and you get heaps of access to stacks of stuff. All right, but if you have, Linda's saying, yes, we even offer them in dozens. You can get the whole year at a time if you want to. And there's lots of availability there. So feel free to ask any questions. That's what this is about. But I'm going to chat while I'm sketching with acrylic this sunflower. Now, you can paint along with me if you like, or you can rewatch it later, or you can just watch me as I go and then paint it without me later. There are so many ways people do it, and beautiful Julia Mitchell from Moree, who is also a club member, she put up recently, just yesterday, her picture from this month's painting, which is, where is it? I've got it here, I think, which is Beach Combi. I spelt combi with a C instead of a K, silly duffer. Anyway, she did her beach combi painting, and she realised that she just doesn't keep looking at the photo, but it came out so well. So however you use it for your style of learning, that is the beauty of this sort of online class style. You can do it at the speed that suits you, and and the size that suits you, and with the materials that suit you. But what I'm demonstrating with today is the set of golden paints. I think I've got one here. This is the set we use in the club. All of the club paintings are just using this particular set. It's under $100, so I think it's about, Linda will correct me, $92 or $94-ish, but we have the kit with the 4 things that I use. I've got tear-off paper palette, which is also what we use in the club. I've got my 4 Montmartre brushes, which we use in the club. Once again, under $10. These are sort of $5 or something, but I would like to spend my money on paint. Quality paint really does make a difference, and this is a terrific way to get yourself started. Anyway, speaking of starting, we've got 5 days together, so I know I don't have to tell you everything today. And look, the replays will be available as throughout the week, only until Friday when we will be closing the club, because I've decided to open and close the membership because I want to be able to concentrate on you inside the membership, once we're done. All right. Cassie's saying, do you only open the VIP plan at the beginning of each year? Yes. So I have 10 beautiful VIPs working with me at the moment. We are working on their individual paintings and what they want to achieve with their paintings. But yes, that cohort is full for this year. So if you missed that, keep an eye out for next year, but keep painting in the meantime. All right, let me have a look at the table here. Whoops, sorry, I'm making a little bit seasick while I get this in the right spot. All right, so as I mentioned, this is my Etcher sketchbook. It's A4 sized. I might start on this left-hand side so that we can fit everything in as we go through this week of 5 paintings. And I'm just going to judge about halfway and give myself a bit of a guide. I often talk about just doing a thumbnail in your sketchbook. Filling up the page is a wonderful thing. It really, really is. It can't be underestimated. Filling up the page and then filling up the your whole book. That is the goal. All right. So if you don't have much time, just figure out part of a page to fill, and then you can use the rest of the page for something else. So this is what I'm going to use for today. And look, I'm at the stage with my sketching and painting that I like painting from real life. But let me see, where did I put my phone? Here it is. But if you are a beginner, I've just started a water reminder sort of app. It's telling me that I need to drink more water, and that's probably right. Anyway, but yes, if you are a beginner, it is not cheating to draw or paint from a photo, okay? It is not. It is a fabulous way of figuring out the shapes of things. So look, I'm going to take this photograph. There we go. Simple as that. And that is now my reference photo for this activity, okay? So look at the beautiful colours, and I've managed to replicate some of those colours in here. Even though this is inspired by Van Gogh, of course. This, I think, actually was 3 of these sunflowers. Now, the other thing to notice with sunflowers is that they can be very different. The centres are different in different types of sunflowers. So it would be a lovely project just to draw different sunflowers, I really think. Might have to add that one to the list for one of our demonstration collection month themes. Okay, so you can see Dia's just arrived. Lovely to have you here. Okay, look, I'm going to get stuck straight into this, and look, I'm not replicating either of these paint-alongs because they are all recorded, beautifully edited with transcripts, everything, step-by-step guided paintings that are now available as part of the club. And look, for $25, it's an absolute bargain to get stuck into things straight away. This one is definitely in, the Van Gogh Experience is still in the catalogue for the instant members. But yes, I'm just going to give you a bit of a snippet today of how we do things here, and I will share my reference photo later on so that it can help you join in, because if you join in, look, you can really experience it, and that's what I want you to do. I want you to give it a go in a small amount of time. So what I'm doing right now is just squeezing out a little bit of acrylic paint, because it's only a small painting, so we'll only use a little bit. Hello, Liesl. Great to have you here. Liesl is a fabulous florist friend of mine locally. I often paint her beautiful floral arrangements. Kay from Oklahoma. Brilliant to have you here. Now, I am going to put out my top 6 colours, and we'll try and use them all, hey? This is sort of giving you an example of what's in this set and how I lay out my palette. So I always do my yellows at the top, my blues at sort of 8 o'clock on the clock, and then my reds at 4 o'clock. And I've got magenta there and Parole red. You can mix a beautiful purple with magenta, not so much with this red, okay? So it's good to have a magenta there, but I've got a cool blue and a warm blue, ultramarine and phthalo, Parole red and quin magenta, Hansa yellow and yellow oxide. Sort of, it gives me a great selection. And even when I sit down to do, well, any painting really these days, I have a million paints, but these are the ones I use all the time. And I probably have trained myself to do that because they're in the set that we use for the club. But sort of 2 reds, a cool and a warm, cool and a warm, cool and a warm. We've got our 3 primaries all set up, ready to go with lots of options. And the goal will be to use all of this paint. All right, we'll try and use all of this paint. Oop! I'm just knocking things off on my desk. And that was an interesting sound. I'll move that. And look, any leftover paint I can use on the cover. All right. Now, I'm going to go straight in with my paintbrush because I don't want to waste time. Time is usually of the essence when I'm drawing for myself and painting for myself for fun or learning something new. So I'm loading up my number 10 flat brush with the Hansa yellow so that I can start by getting the shape on. Now I'm looking at the center first. Now I love using the flat brush rather than a pointy brush because a brush is so different to a pen. It really is. And this, if I use one that doesn't have the point of a pen, I'm more likely to sort of do some interesting shapes. And now I'm just rocking the brush to put on these raggedy petals. But I'm flattening it in my mind's eye and looking at that shape. So this shape here is that shape there. I'm not thinking of it like, oh, they're petals and I've been trained to draw petals since I was young in colouring in books. I'm looking at them as the actual shapes that they are. Now, the beautiful thing about painting flowers is if you do them a bit wonky, the flowers aren't going to mind. Okay? The flowers do not mind. And remember too, this is the middle of our flower. All of these petals are radiating out from the center of the flower. So you don't want them to sort of start going sideways randomly. They're originating here in the middle. So just be conscious of that as we go around. But look, also what we're looking at here is this beautiful negative space, like the air around that is of interest to me. So we're going to do that in the next step. So that is something we do in the club all the time, is that I'll teach you how to do something and we'll paint it together. But when we get to the end, that's when I tell you what you've accidentally learned by painting with me. So one of the things that we'll be learning quite accidentally as you paint this with me today, is negative space. Okay? Now, if I am going too fast for you, please don't despair. That is the beauty of video learning. You can replay it at your own pace. You might find it more comfortable to just sit back and have a cup of tea and watch what I do right now and then do it again in your own time. Other people know that they won't do it again if they don't do it straight up. So they need to do it in this time that they spend with me. It's totally okay to figure out what works for you because we're not in school anymore. and if you are a fast learner, that's great. Get stuck into it with me. If you are happier doing it more slowly, well, just wait and do it later. That would be absolutely fine. And you can pause and rewind the video. So lots and lots of options there. All right, so let's talk about negative space now. What I'm going to do is fill in the negative space with blue, and this, once again, it's appropriate. I mean, most people's favorite color is blue. My beautiful friend Tiffany Jones, who has Tiffany Jones Fine Art up on the Sunshine Coast here in Queensland, will tell you that most people's favorite color is blue. So you can't go wrong with a beautiful blue in a painting like this. So I'm using white and ultramarine blue to get this gorgeous color. And I do want it to be fairly flat because the petals themselves are going to have quite a bit of texture and detail. So when I was thinking about what to do today, I thought I could do part of a sunflower, most definitely. And as we go through the week, we might sort of experiment with that sort of approach. But I thought to start with, I won't freak you out too much. We'll do something that makes sense and is a lovely standalone little painting. White and blue as I just keep loading my brush, but I'm not mixing on the palette very much. I'm just letting the colours mix on the paper or the canvas. Dolly's favourite colour it is. Hi. Belinda. Yes, you just can't go wrong with blue. I think there have been studies about how, like, what is your favourite colour? And most people will say blue. Now, just to add some variety, I'm going to go darker as I go further down the page. And this will really anchor the painting, because there's not much going on around in the bottom, like, of this picture. So I'm sort of letting the darker tone of blue help me out here. Now, there are so many ways of doing an acrylic painting. You could start with putting the background colour down first and then paint the flower on top. Or you can do what I'm doing here and go around the flower and fill in the negative space with colour. There is no right way. And that is the beautiful thing about doing a collection of paintings and experimenting with doing it different ways, because you might find, well, that is the only way to find really, if you prefer one over the other. And this helps you if you want to sort of take your painting to the next level. This helps you find your style by figuring out different ways of doing things and then following them through and seeing what feels right to you. As I go back up to the top here, I'm bringing more white in so that I've got more contrast there between the top and the bottom. But of course the acrylic's drying quite quickly on the page, which I love. I do love it because it means that I can keep going and fit it into my day. I have been known to paint acrylics with a hairdryer in one hand and a brush in the other, because the painting was needed for an event. So I really love the way it dries quickly. It doesn't put me off at all. You can spray your palette and keep it wet. Some people will use damp kitchen towel underneath their paints, and that helps keep it fresh as well. And of course there is another palette called a Stay Wet palette, and there are homemade versions of that as well. So there's lots of options. Once you figure out how you paint, there are options to make it work for you, and I often get questions about that, so feel free to ask. Okay, Janelle's saying finally some blue sky where she is at I'm having a blank. Not Yarraman. Nanango today. Good to see. So this is perfect for us as well. It's lovely to see the blue sky. All right, so that blue is getting quite dry already, and I think it's going to be petals first. We're going to start with the petals. Then we'll do some of the centre. Then we'll probably come back to the leaves, okay? Then back to the petals in the centre. So you've got to rotate a little bit there. It's not a simple, well, I don't want it to be paint by numbers. I'm not really interested in paint by numbers approaches. Personally, I like to build it up with layers, and this is what makes it truly interesting. Okay. Belinda says it's raining Gympie. Oh gosh, Gympie has had enough rain for the moment. It's for sure. Well, if you're inside, that's wonderful. If you're cleaning up, gosh, thank you to everyone who helped with the cleaning up efforts over the weekend. Such a community effort. And having been through the floods here in 2011, we know all about it. All right, now I am just sketching with the corner of my brush. Can you see the white paper that I'm leaving behind? This is a bit of a watercolor technique, really, leaving some of that paper behind so that it can shine. I'm not happy with that big gap there, so I'm going to put a bit more paint there. And look, my petals are close enough to what's in my reference photo. They don't have to be exactly the same, all right? That's how I'm not trying to do ultra-realistic paintings or hyper-realistic paintings. I'm trying to communicate the feeling of this this sunflower. Now, we started with the yellow. Now I'm going to start with the leaves next. And to mix a sappy green, I have picked up some yellow and some ultramarine blue, because I want this natural green. And I can see in the picture here it's darker at the back of that leaf, the back half of that leaf, and lighter at the front. It's almost a bit fuzzy, so I'm going to put a little bit of white in there, and a little bit more, and maybe a bit more yellow to do that front half of the leaf. I'm looking at it as a shape, and it is close enough. Once again, I'm talking and painting. There's a lot going on in my mind right now. So the last thing I need to worry about is getting it exact. Using the side of my brush to do this. Now see these little bits of yellow peeking through? That is one of the reasons I love sketching with paint first. And this little bit of colour peeking through, wonderful looseness, I think is a good thing. All right. Okay, now remember, this is a demonstration, so you do see the real-time version of what I'm doing. But yes, in the online classes, it is edited into steps. It says what's coming up. We do it. There's a transcript. It's all very guided. Okay, so once again, if you feel like we're going too fast, just relax and let it all happen. You can always come back to it. That's why it's recorded. Okay, so next thing, I'm going to do my center, and I'm looking at this brown color here. Now there is a brown in this set. It is burnt sienna, I think. Yes, it is. So burnt sienna is in this set. It's a reddy brown. But the thing is, you can also mix your own brown by mixing all three primary colors. So yellow and blue and red will create a brown. Green, which is yellow and blue, obviously, plus a bit of red will create a brown. So let's try making our own brown and comparing it to the brown that we've got there. And then we'll come back in and do those details in the middle. But I want to get it generally brown, because usually with acrylics, and not every time, but usually we would start with the darks and move to the lights. Okay, but this is an opportunity to use some of these other colors I've put on here. So that's phthalo blue. Let's use this yellow and maybe a bit of this magenta. Okay, too much blue there. Let's bring in a bit more yellow and a bit, let's see what we can get here. It's fairly green, so I've got plenty of blue and yellow in there, but not enough red. Okay, so I'm getting this dark color, and look at that. Actually, the brown emerging from the green is pretty much perfect for what I want to achieve here. Okay, so that is a much more accurate brown. Look at this rough edges, this little center of the flower. Remember, everything originates in the center. I can put that leaf back on once it's dried. But look at that. So it's a general round shape. But I do want to get some of these darks in here. And I'll compare that to this brown that came straight out of the bottle, the burnt sienna. And we'll use that as an underpainting in the center there. Okay. But we're getting those darks, and we really need to build up more color in there to make it interesting. Okay, so now it's time to go back to our petals and add some interest. What colors have I got in there? I really find it useful to talk about the words, or use your words when it comes to color mixing. Adding a bit more yellow. Obviously this one, being a sunflower, has a bit more yellow. And I don't squeeze out too much at a time, which also minimises the waste. Okay, because once it's dried, you can't use it. But acrylic is so beautifully forgiving. It really, really is. Once it's dry, you can paint over it with any colour. Okay, so let's have a look here. We've got, I'll just touch up some of these edges. This is with the same Hansa yellow, which is like a cadmium yellow. If you don't have one that says Hansa in your collection of paints. Probably got a few more petals there. I will, when that dries, I'm going to cut in and make that petal more obvious. But just cleaning up some of those edges where the blues overlapped. It's also a very translucent colour, and that's because we're using these beautiful quality paints. If you're using a paint that isn't such good quality, like artist quality, it might have fillers in it. So like white that stretches the pigment and not as much pigment. So it could be a paler, less vibrant colour and not as translucent, whereas this is really see-through. You can see it here on the label. You can see with these striped black lines behind there, just how transparent this colour is. Okay, but that's fine. If it's similar but different is what you will get if you use different supplies. And sometimes that's fine, okay? Now I'm mixing a very light orange here, just with the very tiniest amount of my Perol red, because red is powerful stuff. You only need the smallest amount. It's easy to add a little bit at a time, hard to take it out. So here we go again. I'm going to now just rock my brush in the direction that these petals are going. Gosh, I'll be so hard not to bring in some pencil, especially because it's in a sketchbook. Maybe I will. We'll see. Look at that colour there. That's such a dark colour. That shadow there. See that? It's like a dark brown. It's a good reminder that that will have to be included as well. So I'm not worrying so much about what my individual petals are doing right now, because I'm giving the impression of it. I'm getting the feeling of what's there. But while I'm here, remember how we go from dark to light? Let's look at how we can make this even darker. I'm going to bring in a bit of that brown that we've used from the center. Maybe a bit more yellow. No. A bit more ultramarine blue, which is the green. So it's the green we've used for the leaves with a bit of that brown. And let's look at these interesting shapes. I'm just using the corner of my brush. Now, of course, you can go to your smaller brush, but I just find using a slightly bigger brush gives you more interesting shapes. You're less likely to draw in lines, and you're more likely to draw in as a shape. Okay? Or paint as a shape. We're just so trained to using pencils and pens. But it is a mark-making tool. And when you think of the brush as a mark-making tool, it gets really interesting. It's because what shapes can we make? This is allowing me to separate out some of these petals. And look, every painting has an ugly stage, so don't give up on yourself as you're following along. You have to trust me. I've been doing this for a while now. Doesn't work every time, but it works most of the time these days. And I have painted a few sunflowers in my time. And really, you just keep going until it's right. Or you give up on it and start again. That's fine too. I always say that the law of averages means that you will only like half of what you do. So if you want to do a lot of good painting, you have to do a lot of painting. Full stop. Okay, now I can see in my screen, this is looking okay. This is coming along. Happy with that. Look, while I'm here too, I am going to put a little bit of pale green. So this is drying pretty quickly. It's a warm day here today. But yellow and a bit of that green that we use for the leaf. I'm going to put just a little bit of that in here too on some of these petals that are behind the other petals. This is building up some depth of colour. So it's pushing some petals into the background, like making them recede, and other petals are being pushed forward. But we're just using colours that I've already used in the picture. Okay, so nothing's too random or too crazy. How are you going? I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking and then trying to slow myself down with the painting by the talking, and I hope that's doing what it should. Okay, back to the centre. I'm going to put some of these yellowy marks on now because this is dried. Okay, this is dried, so back into this yellowy browny mark, and I'm looking at the texture that's there and how much dark is still around it, and when I'm stroking it on here, it's as if I'm touching the center of the flower. I'm trying to communicate that texture. It's as if I'm stroking it on. Looks to me like the yellowy bits with brown tips. As you come around the front here, they're more individual marks, not stripes. And then as I go back around the side here, they turn more into stripes again because the flower is slightly angled. Okay, I'm using both yellows on my brush right now. Once again, not rushing it, making the tiniest line, and I'm using my number 6 round brush, which is the smallest one. Smallest one in this particular set of brushes that I use. Now, the brushes that I use are not expensive brushes. I do have some expensive brushes and I look after them really, really well. But these ones I just use until they don't serve me well anymore. I'm going to bring in some of that brown and dot it on here a bit now, just to create these dots again. But yes, I use them till they start splitting and they're not doing their job well. And then I keep them to make into like a Christmas wreath or something. But yes, they have their time in the sun, literally. And then they have to go when they're not serving me anymore. But yes, it's up to you to, well, you've got to use them enough, haven't you, to know when you've pushed one too far. And I do find that if I don't move them out of the way, off my desk, I'll pick them up by accident and try to persevere, and it's just not worth it. Really isn't. Okay. All right, now to the center of the flower. It is this pale green. I'm going to mix myself another green there. I actually want it to be a bit darker to start with, and then we'll come back with some whiter highlights. And these are actual round bits. Now, because this is a faux sunflower, I don't know if that's 100% true, but there are definitely sunflowers I've seen in our beautiful Queen's Park with interesting pale green centres. Now, what I have done here, that is a bit of a circle, but I feel like I've come up too far. Here I have got some stripes. So I'm going to add that back in. So I'm just watching the shapes. And look, as I'm watching the shapes, I know that because I've been doing a lot of drawing these last few days, I'm noticing the shapes because I've trained my eye through the drawing. The drawing is so important, I think, if you're going to go the realistic route with art. And look, even if you're choosing to go abstract, it is so lovely to know. I'm just putting in little circles here with that green. I've added some white to it, but I don't want them to be separate. They're sort of sitting on top of each other. And it's darker here, so I'm going to leave that bit there and just go around it a bit. Beautiful because the green underneath is still a bit wet, so it's blending quite nicely, but that's giving a lovely impression of what's there, I think. Isn't it lovely the way it builds up? I wanted to show you that a bit closer. I'll put it closer to the camera so you can see what I just did. Hopefully you're watching this on your computer or your TV, not your phone. There we go. You see that? Let's see if I can get the focus right. All right. You see the detail that's in there. Hi, Kat. Great to see you here. All right. Yeah. So there's lots of layers and lots of details. Don't think of it like a paint by number. Okay. We're building up the texture. And what's wonderful about this too is that it's more unique, I suppose. It's not just a jigsaw of shapes that are all flat colours. It would be hard to reproduce this exactly, and that's a good thing. It makes it much more special. Original art is special. So yeah, let's make it so. So now it's time to come back to these petals, and I want to bring some of these highlights back in, because obviously the browns and the greens there have made that darker than it needs to be. When we're getting fairly close to the end in this little painting. Just adding a few more, trying to get that shape a little bit more accurate. But the thing is too, I designed my online paint-alongs so that if you are not exactly spot on with those shapes, you will still get a lovely painting. In the club, I do provide printables, so you can get a drawing guide if you want to use it. Or you can go straight in and draw your own. There's so many options to make it work for you and to try it. Okay, so to add these highlights back into the petals, I'm going to make some light yellow. So I'm putting some white in because as beautiful and translucent as it is, I actually want to make it a little bit more opaque. Now, opaque means that you can't see through it, okay? So I'm going to cover up some of what's behind there. So I'm looking at some of these petals and seeing where the light is catching it, but my lines are still going the directions that the petals are growing. And I'm breaking some of those lines too. You see how we're putting the light back in? And the brush, the handle of the brush is leading the way. I'm not trying to go sideways on a petal when I don't need to. Okay, so important to figure out the way these marks are made, and this comes with practice. And you get practice if you do it regularly. If it's a skill that you do want to improve, that's why I do it monthly. I found that any sort of less than monthly or more often became too much. I mean, gosh, I had 4 kids. I know what it's like. I have 4 kids. Some of them are a bit more grown up now. But yes, you want it to be challenging but not impossible to fit it into your day. A little bit of challenge is good, but not too much. So yes, I felt monthly is great. And if you have more time, do more. I mean, obviously joining the club, you have access to so many paintings. So you can definitely choose a few and do a few. But if you don't have too much time, just achieving 1 a month is a fabulous thing, because at the end of the year, you have 12, which is bloody wonderful. All right. Just checking these comments here. Cassie's there, Lynn's there, Brenda. Yeah, Brenda's saying such a short time frame. It's only a little painting. So yes, it's very possible if you only have a short time, just do a little picture and you still get that beautiful feeling of knowing that you've achieved something. All right, now I'm going to add a bit more to these leaves. I think that needs to be a bit darker, and I can see that texture on the edge of the leaf. It's a bit serrated, a bit more too, a bit darker green under the head of the flower. That's logical that it is darker there because of the shadow, of course. A bit more here too. See this little bit of white still peeking through? I quite like that. Adds a bit of sparkle. If you bring I'll show you what I mean. If you bring the background colour all the way up to it, I need a little bit more ultramarine blue, I think. It becomes almost, oop, that was quick. It becomes, it takes, well, the neatness, look, you might like that neatness. I've still got the tiniest little slither of white there, but it can become a little staid. I think, I'm going to add it back in to show you what I mean. I think having that little bit of white and yellow peeking through, not only for tonal reasons, so that it stands out more, but now I'll put it back in. I think it adds a bit of movement to your painting. So yes, you didn't have to copy me then. If you've got a choice whether you like the colour peeking through or you want to bring the blue up. Which do you prefer? When I do classes and I make decisions like that, I do let people decide, sort of like, here are your options. Which do you prefer? There's no right way. But let me show you how to do it both ways just in case. All right? So that's a lot of fun. Now, looking at this picture, I still want to add some more highlights. But before we do that, we're nearly finished here. Before we do that, I want to bring in some of the complementary colour to yellow, which is purple. So yellow is a primary colour. The other two primary colours are blue and red. Put those two together and you've got the complementary to yellow, okay? So purple. I'll mix a beautiful purple, as I mentioned, with quin magenta and either of the blues. You'll make a lovely, lovely purple. All right. So I'm going to basically step away from the realism and add a bit of this purple. I think I need to make it a little lighter, so a bit of white in there. Add a little bit of purple in the head of my flower, okay? Call me crazy, it's not in the picture, but this is when it starts becoming more about the painting as an artwork, not as just a reproduction of a photograph, okay? Also adding a little bit of that purple in here, ever so lightly. This is my number 6 round brush, my smallest brush, on some of these darker areas. Now, if you go too heavy and you look at it at the end and go, too much purple, as soon as it's dry, you just add some yellow back in and minimize it. But look at that. That's quite lovely, isn't it? If you've missed exactly where I've put these, you can refer to the finished painting when we're done, or you can rewind the video. It's simple. Okay. Now for some white highlights. One of my favorite bits. I'm going to add some more white highlights. This is circular in the center of the flower, but off center. See how I haven't put it right in the middle? Now just a few on these petals as well. So yes, when we demonstrate, I do go from step to step pretty fluidly. But in my online classes, they are divided up into logical steps, thoughtful steps, so you can see the progress. And the colours are listed in the transcript. It's all there for you to make it as easy as possible. And you can use it the way you want to use it. Just marking that on here. See, I'm still holding it quite a way back on the brush handle. Just adding a bit of highlight. I'm not even looking at the photo at the moment. To each of them. And look, I think a little bit of sparkle on the edge of that leaf is also quite lovely. So it's a bit of a serrated edge on there. But this, see this petal? I really, really like this petal, how it cuts into the center of the flower and it comes forward at us. Okay, if I can rebuild that, I'll be very happy. So just looking at the little shapes of that. And I do need to add a little bit of white to make it more opaque because of the brown behind it. And then I can put the yellow back on again. This was something I discussed just last week with beautiful Elizabeth, who's in my VIP group. She's actually doing a floral painting on a little coffee table and was struggling. She started with black and she was struggling to get the brightness of colour. And I explained that when you have a translucent colour, if it's black behind it, it's going to sort of be able to see through to the black, which makes it really dark. So if you want that colour to still be bright, you need to have white underneath it before you put the translucent colour on top. And it made such a difference to what she's doing. Julie's saying she's using iridescent acrylics and the sunflowers are glistening. Absolutely. What a great idea. Any sort of pearlescence actually will bring it forward. And I wouldn't be, actually, I might, thanks for that tip and that idea, Julie. I have got some iridescent gold here. Now, this is a more expensive colour in the golden line. And I don't mind, in Australia we have Jo Sonia's. It's not too bad either, but this is beautiful. Fabulous gift for an arty friend because it lasts a long time, okay? But Series 6, so it is a bit more expensive. But look, if I just put a bit of that gold here, and I'll show you up close soon, but just the smallest bits. Look, another beautiful option would be do your whole background in gold. Gosh, that'd be wonderful. So many options. Lovely Mette, I mentioned Mette earlier from Denmark, put flowers in the top of the combi van that we did in this month's painting. And so instead of surfboards on the top, she put flowers on the top. And so I thought, oh, that's a fabulous idea. So tomorrow when we do our club watercolour version of it, I'm putting a little bit of gold in the petals too. Great idea, Julie. Thank you for mentioning that. Ah, Leanne's got her iridescent gold out. Perfect. But yes, when we do the watercolour version tomorrow, so only club members get the watercolour version of the monthly painting. And I do it like this. We do a demonstration. And then I load it into their library as a separate product, separate workshop. But yes, when we'll do it, we'll do flowers on the roof rather than surfboards, which gives a lovely option. But it was because these lovely other members and the sense of community is terrific. Now, the last thing I want to do is a little bit of red, because you know how we've got the purple in there and it's hidden a bit more now, but it's still there. But it's there, it's right, I can see it there. But with green is obviously blue and yellow to make green. The other primary colour is red. So if we use the tiniest bit of red near our green, it creates this sort of vibration. I am using the very, very tip of my brush here to make this varied line. And look, it shouldn't be the first thing you see, but it can make the difference between a professional painting, professional looking painting, and an amateurish painting. These little touches, just putting a little bit in here too. Okay, not too many solid lines going on here. A little bit of red in there too. Remember we had that reddy brown underneath? It's still peeking through a little bit, which is lovely. But that little hit of red there can be so, so lovely. And look, I'm on a roll now, so I'm going to pop a little bit of red in my border as well. And remember, my handle of the brush is leading the way to help get those lines right. And a varied line is so much more interesting than a sort of same thickness all along line. My beautiful Mr. Foley was my art teacher at St Ursula's in Year 10. And I remember him telling me that. So you don't need a ruler, but don't go too fast either. You don't have to go too fast, but isn't that quite lovely? Debbie's saying, I've painted many sunflowers because you taught me how to. Every time I paint one, I think of you and am grateful. I know you have painted a lot of sunflowers, Debbie Blanco. I am delighted that you think of me every time you do that. My goodness, Debbie has been painting with me for years and years and years and has painted so many things in her house with flowers. It's just been a fabulous, fabulous thing to watch over the years. Lovely to have you here today, Deb. All right. Look, I think we're done. The other thing to note, well, that one's a bit of a blob, isn't it? I'm looking through the screen. I'm just going to break it up a bit with a bit of that yellow oxide. So if you've done too many layers and it's flattened itself again, you can come back. And of course you can come back tomorrow when you've had a bit of time apart and make changes. It's your painting. It doesn't have to be perfect straight up. And your first one doesn't have to be perfect. Fill a book with 50 sunflower paintings, and I tell you, you will learn so much and be so much happier with number 50 than you will with number 1. But to check it now, I'm just going to take a photo, and I'm going to use my monotone. Look, it's a bit dark, but because I have these white lines here, I can still see the edge of the stem and the petals. So I'm happy with that. I can still see that. It looks quite nice still in shades of grey. I think it would be lovely to have a bit more sunshine catching the tip of that. And on any line you mark on, you want to make it into a shape. Okay. So now that's sort of catching more light. Dear's saying it's lovely to paint this again. It is, isn't it? I'm feeling exactly the same thing, dear. Like, I really have painted so many sunflowers myself too. A bit more brown. Just changing that shape a little bit there. But they don't get old, do they? And you might have noticed artists sharing photos of their paintings and photographs of sunflowers. Not a bad thing to be sharing, is it? We can't do much, but what we can do, we should do. Often. All right, I've used a bit of brown there too to create that shadow. Look, there's still a tiny bit of white, and that is actually the white paper still peeking through in the middle of that leaf. Happy with that. If you don't have that anymore, you could mark it back in. Wendy thinks of me every time she sees a beautiful flower. Oh my goodness. Now I'm blushing. But how good is that? How wonderful is that? So today is what? The 7th of March. So I'm just going to put my date on it. Whenever I do something in my sketchbook, I say whenever, but I'm just going to put FB here for Facebook. I do try and remember. So the vast majority of the times I will put the date on it because you see the improvement that way. And the memory. So I'll know that's Facebook for years from now. I will look back and be able to remember doing this with you guys. Okay? And I've got a big smile on my face right now. But yes, Annie's saying a collection of sunflowers is a fabulous idea. Fill your book. That hashtag fill your book. Fill your page, which we'll do another one tomorrow. That'll help fill the page. But filling your book feels so good. And look, beautiful Danny Greg. I've got a lot of beautiful people in my life. Danny Gregory is an artist I admire greatly, and he did his toast. He drew his toast every day until he filled the book. Anything is beautiful if you really study it and learn to see. And seeing is the key when it comes to drawing and painting. So, it's just a mini taste. Hopefully I've got you excited though. I have to tell you where to go, haven't I? There we go. Always looks better from a distance. That's another thing to remember, all right? So you've seen it up this close. Sorry, it's probably still a bit blurry, but I'll post the finished work. But you've seen it close, then step back from it, okay? Now, Linda's going to post the link to the page which has more about the club. If I've whet your appetite for this and you join before tomorrow, you will be able to have access to the watercolour version of the Combi Van, of course. It's only $25, really, $25 a month. Cancel anytime. If you're not using it, just cancel it later. Very little to lose. And if I've got you enthusiastic today, then maybe you might join me tomorrow as well. So whether it's live or in the replay, I'll be leaving this up for this Shiny Happy Art Club week. If you're already in the club, please tell a friend. I really, really appreciate that. What we do here, here we are year 4, but we're still pretty small. So I'd love you to help me get the word out. If you are in an area, that doesn't have too many members, just tell a few friends. That would be so good, because it is so cool to do it with a friend. I have a wonderful woman here in Toowoomba that has a sister in South Africa and a mother in London, and they do the same paintings together. Okay, so all 3 are members and they do that together. So that might be something lovely to do with a friend who is far away, and just one set of paints and brushes is all you need. And we're up to number 38, painting like number 38 with that one set of paints and brushes. If I have whet your appetite though to just do a sunflower, seriously, it's cheaper to join the club. That one is Loose Sunflowers is one of ours. This one is in the Van Gogh experience, which has 3 in it. And of course this month's, we'll be doing the watercolour version of this tomorrow for the club members, with flowers instead of surfboards, so that's exciting. But yes, go and have a look at it. shinyhappyart.com/getartfit. See what we do, and hopefully I will see you back here same time tomorrow. Yeah, we've done it for exactly an hour. An hour tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Which one are we doing? A tree line. Bit of perspective there, but really handy for landscapes. So hopefully we'll see you then. Right? Thank you for joining me today. Please do like and share. That also helps. Invite people to the group. But yeah, I appreciate it so much. Linda and Lauren and I, who work in this little business, appreciate it so much. And I appreciate you for coming along today. It's been terrific to chat to you. And I'll see you soon, wherever in the world you are. See you same time tomorrow. Okay, bye.